in your eyes. It's a wonder what you'll find with an open mind. You may be surprised. Yeah, gotta get away from this illusion for the sake of the world. This delusion, it's gotta
Hey, how are you? As an atheist, clearly I have no happiness or joy in my life, and I'm just here to do the drudgery of yet another episode of the Atheist Experience Live. I'm Matt Dillahunty. This week, Jen Peeples.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing? We had Halloween.
I was going to say, I have a reason to live. I have like a bag of chocolate here.
Yes, thank you for setting that right in front of me.
Yeah. Now, I didn't do this. This is actually Tracy's bag of chocolate. Apparently, her husband overbought for Halloween.
So did we, but this was the first year in a new house. We didn't know how many kids were going to come by. I had somebody who's a fan of the show stop by, and they just happened to be in the neighborhood trick-or-treating, and like, hey, how you doing? Cool. But yeah, and then Thursday was my anniversary, and Saturday I went out exploring in Wimberley at the Market Day stuff and did some antique shopping. I've got plenty of joy and happy stuff in my life.
I know. Yeah, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
I remember that day very well.
I do too.
That was a good time.
I don't remember the next day, but... But yeah, so it's been 3 years. Welcome to the show. It is November 2nd, 2014. We are live. This is a call-in public access television program where we take questions and talk to people, tell us what you believe and why, ask questions, discuss religion, philosophy, and whatever else. But you had something you wanted to address real quick before we got started.
Yeah, so, we get email. We've been getting a lot of email lately and lots of comments on Facebook and different groups in there about, oh, the Pope accepts evolution in the Big Bang. He's making progress. Well, not really. What he said is actually not any different than what's been the Catholic Church's position for...
Since John Paul II.
Yeah, for like 30 years. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and they've been pretty good. I mean, if you go to a Catholic school, they're going to teach you evolution. And they have not been saying that the science is wrong. What they've been saying is that they can find a way to make their religion seem to fit in with the science.
Right, yes. The science is right, but God did it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So the position really hasn't changed, although I would say it's a bit of a stretch to say that they actually accept evolution.
Yeah.
Because evolution doesn't have an opening within it for the speculation that there's a supernatural being tinkering with it. That would make it an untestable, unfalsifiable, rather useless proposition, because you then couldn't examine the similarities between species or DNA and reach any conclusions about, ancestry if there's the possibility of tinkering. So,
yeah. But along those same lines, I got an email from someone who saw a past show, and he disagrees with your assessment of the Catholic Church being a criminal organization.
Then he's probably wrong.
Yeah, I'm thinking he is. But let's examine what he has a complaint about. Basically, in that you were claiming that the Catholic Church is a criminal organization, and Catholics are complicit in that because they continue to support the Church. And he writes, I don't see how all Catholics are complicit or have the responsibility to topple the entire religion, even if the Pope himself directly committed crimes. It strikes me as the same as saying if Obama commits a crime, then all Democrats are complicit or have the responsibility of dismantling the entire Democratic Party. I would think that individuals are responsible for the crimes they commit, and it's the responsibility of individuals that know about the crime and the legal system to bring them to justice.
Well, let's not go all the way to Obama. Let's just go to you.
Okay.
President of the Atheist Community of Austin. If Jen does something wrong in her capacity as president of the ACA, I'm not complicit as a member of the ACA.
Right.
However, if Jen has this habit of doing things that are wrong and illegal, and I continue to support the ACA and I continue to give money to the ACA, knowing that this is the case, and we continue to keep re-electing Jen, then I am in that case complicit.
Yeah.
Because I am implicitly endorsing her actions by not taking action to change something.
Right.
Now, if the Catholic Church had only ever done one thing wrong and we were just now finding out about it, then I wouldn't have said that Catholics were complicit. That's not remotely the case.
Right. Well, and not only that, but, you know, the Catholic Church engaged in an organized campaign to shield priests from suffering any legal consequences for the crimes they committed. So they moved priests around, they reassigned them, they did everything except defrock them. That they won't do. But they managed to make sure that these priests were never held accountable for molesting children. And you know, that means that the organization itself is complicit. And once you find out that the organization has done that, if you're a member of that organization, then you have a responsibility as a member of the organization to do something to change it. And
It could be as little as speaking out,
exactly.
you know,
And
saying, hey, the church does all of these good things, which I want to continue supporting,
Yeah.
but I can no longer ignore that these other things are going on and we need to make some changes, or I'm going to, you know. Basically what I had suggested was make a whole new church.
right.
If you can't get in and roust the people who are engaged in these actions, then you keep your beliefs and you make a new church, which clearly isn't that hard since we have thousands of denominations who have done exactly that.
I was going to say, I think Henry VIII did that.
Oh yeah, it
Not
couldn't
because
get divorced.
Yeah, not because of anything wrong the Catholic Church did necessarily, but because, you know, he wanted to
The
save
church's
church.
positions were
Right.
inconvenient for his relationship status.
Yes. So it had to go. Anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to point out that, yeah, the analogy fails there because, you know, people know about this now. They can't pretend that it's a new thing. So if you're still in the Catholic Church and you know about this, you're still complicit. So,
And the people will make all kinds of rationalizations for, well, you know, like I was just saying, the church does a lot of good things.
Yeah.
Nobody said they didn't.
yeah,
Or at least I'm not aware of anybody saying they didn't. All kinds of churches do all kinds of good things. All kinds of people in churches do all kinds of good things. And
Yeah.
they tend to give credit to their religion when their religion deserves no credit for it at all. It's people doing things.
right.
And I think it's in our best interest to recognize that people can do good things and do good things, irrespective of their religious identity or you know, what church they happen to belong to.
Yeah. Yeah, churches are not the only vehicle for doing good things in the world.
Or bad things.
Right.
It's a big old goofy world, as John Prine would say.
Yes.
So you want to go ahead and
Let's-
go on and take calls?
yeah,
As a
let's
reminder,
take
once the
calls.
show's over, a lot of people involved in the show get together and go to dinner at El Arroyo, and they'll put the information up on the screen if you're in the Austin area. David in, there, oh crap. Is this David?
Hello?
Is this David in Calgary?
No, this is not.
All right, I'm going to have to put you back on hold. We lost David, but we'll get back to you. So yeah, line one has changed. Robbie in Houston, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Nice to be on the show. Hi, Jen.
Hi, how are you?
Very well indeed. Listen, I wonder if I could take you to task a little bit, Matt, on the secular morality.
Okay.
And not that I'm not, don't believe wholeheartedly in a secular morality, but I think yours still has tinges of religious or Christianity, and by that I simply mean that in terms of the Sermon on the Mount, the takeaway, I think, at least in today's political world, is that we are our brother's keeper. There's a lot more, obviously, to it. I know you've done a great deconstruction of that, but in so much that, the advice to, how should we treat others, I think Christianity fairly comes down on the side of we are our brother's keeper, and there are many politicians, speak to that particular notion.
So one of the things I'd say is that just because there's an idea that happens to exist within some version of Christianity doesn't mean that it's wrong, and doesn't mean that mine is based on Christianity. It could be that both positions are based on a similar understanding of the world.
Absolutely no argument there. And I'm only just, sort of, I guess the Christian the idea of your politics and ethics being Christian was, I guess, just to get your attention.
Yeah, because the thing says your ethics and politics seem Christian to me, which I think there are plenty of Christians who would definitely disagree with that. But my thing is that depending on what you mean by being your brother's keeper, I may or may not agree with it. I think that it's in our best interest, because we must share space, to have positions and policies where we take into consideration the effect on others and the effect on groups.
No doubt. Does that obligate us to one another?
Excuse me?
Does that obligate us to one another? Let's just take
to some extent, and in some situations, yes.
And is that always a chosen obligation, or is this an unchosen obligation?
It could be either, depending on the situation.
What about healthcare, just to be currently, political? Is that everybody's responsibility to pay for everybody else's healthcare? Is that? I mean, it would seem that that's consistent with the idea that we are our brother's keeper.
So is this called just your rant against the Affordable Care Act?
Well, absolutely not, Jen. It's not. In fact, I'd rather take it a whole lot deeper. My argument would actually be that while and again, Jen, I've heard Matt speak to this issue, but I'll include you as well. That while your metaphysics and epistemology has been purged of all supernaturalism,
yeah.
I think there's a necessary link between those two, and you and I are all on the same page in that regard, between ethics and then consequentially politics. And I think the idea that when you pretty much invoke a lot of Sam Harris's utilitarianism, that concept that it's the group, that it's the well-being of the group that is important, that takes precedent, let's say, over what I would argue is the well-being of the individual.
Well, first of all, I'm not saying that the well-being of the group necessarily takes precedent over the well-being of the individual. I think that there are instances where that may be the case, but the foundational reason behind that is that each individual is part of the group, and so benefiting the group benefits the individual. The problem that we have is that we are rather myopic in seeing only the immediate effects and only the effects for us, and so we may not be making good decisions if we make them based only on what appears to be in my immediate best interest, because it could be that what's more in my best interest is supporting a group. There's this idea of a veil of ignorance, of designing a system based on the idea that you don't know who you're going to be within that system. And so when it comes to something like socialized medicine, as everybody likes to call it, where we are all contributing to a fund that ensures that we all have access to health care, it's based on the idea that we should all be equal and have equal opportunity to live a healthy life, and that it is in our best interest to make sure that all of the citizens of our community have the opportunity to be healthy, and that this is, because the person, if you take like an extreme libertarian stance, which basically ends up being, I got mine, screw you if you can't get yours, then you set up a situation where there are some people who could ultimately become incredibly productive members of society that would benefit you enormously. And you could go to like this person's going to cure cancer or whatever else, but you don't know who any of those people are. And so if you only focus on the individual, or if you primarily focus on the individual, you lose out on those opportunities.
So you're arguing, I know you love that fallacy of ignorance, you're arguing that the people we don't know about, there may be some people in the future who may go on to cure cancer, and we don't know that, but there may be, and as a result, we should pay for their health care.
No.
I'm saying that is one consideration. Here's the thing. I was unemployed from January through like August, and didn't have access to health care, didn't have an income. What kind of position does that put me in? And if in fact I had access to health care, doesn't that help ensure that I get back to being a productive member of society quicker than if I didn't?
All right. So firstly, if you don't have access to health care, you don't have access to friends or anybody who who would help you in that regard? Is it
Given the cost,
Party's responsibility, Matt, or is it? You said earlier, and it intrigued me when you said there may be an instance where the interests of the group are overshadowed. You overshadow the interests of any individual in that group, and therefore create this situation where the group takes precedence. And I'm thinking, and America is certainly the country that reversed that in history, that took the sanctity of the individial and
with regard to freedoms, yes, but not with regard to obligations. If
I'm obligated, am I free? I'm suggesting that what you say is I should be obligated for. I would say is, I'm not taking an extreme libertarian approach here, but rather just an acknowledgement. Because here's my deeper point, Matt. It's actually that when it comes to a standard of morality, if you invoke the well-being of the community or the group, then you necessarily create conflicts within individuals in the group. You make that individual subservient. To me,
is the individual a part of the group?
No, certainly. But
Robbie, if the group benefits, doesn't the individual benefit too?
Not necessarily.
Isn't it more likely that if a group is benefiting, that it's better for the individuals in the group? How did you get math where the group benefits and individuals don't?
Well, let's just say you've got 10 people in a group, and 9 of them want what the other one person has, and you would say, okay, well, let's just take it because that benefits the group. 9 of us over 1, or 6 of us over 4. It's 2 wolves and a sheep sitting down for dinner.
Okay, so well, first of all, the 2 wolves and the sheep, there's a constitutional protection there, but what is that 10th person has something? What grants him the position of having something?
Well, let's just, it's just, if 10 people are living on an island, and let's just say one person is productive and is, planting and is creating all this sort of stuff, and the other 9 are just, in a gang and they're not doing anything, they're just staying on the beach.
So, Robbie, do you think that your 90% of the population is not being productive and just trying to leech off of the one person? Do you think that's even fucking remotely an accurate model of any society or group?
No, Matt, that was just an example.
No, it wasn't an example. Going to a hyperbolic, unrealistic example does not do anything to aid the conversation.
Well, I'm sorry for that. What I meant,
because it could be that 90% of the population are productive, and this one person is the one that's leeching.
Yeah, well, then the 90% isn't going after the 1%.
I know the 1% is leeching after 90%.
I'm just saying, look, in an entitlement state, which I think you're very much an advocate for.
I'm an advocate for the policies that best benefit everybody, or as many as possible. There's always going to be conflict. It's unavoidable. That's the nature of sharing space and making compromises and recognizing that yes, there are things that my tax money goes to that I'd rather it didn't. But if we allowed everybody to decide individually where their tax money was going to go, then there are things that we are benefiting from that would not get funded because people aren't going to have the right information and the ability to have the foresight to see how they're going to benefit from those things long term.
So their property should be taken because they don't know it. They don't realize
who's advocating it?
Matt, you said earlier that you said the best interest again of the group. You've said in your lecture about that contrary to the goals of a productive society, and so you're invoking this group concept all the time. And I'm still looking for any example you could give me where the interests of the group could then usurp, let's say, the fundamental rights.
What are the fundamental rights? What are the fundamental Robbie? What are the fundamental rights that you're talking about? Because rights are granted.
Your life. No. Rights are granted. Are they privileges?
Yes, rights are granted. That is what the Constitution is about. Rights are granted
by
the community.
Oh, they're given by the community?
Yes.
Yes.
Of the people, by the people, for the people.
I thought they were inalienable.
I disagree with the assertion that there's any such thing as inalienable rights. You should watch my debate with Abdu Murray, where he tries to make this point, and I refute it, because rights are granted. What use is it to say that you have a right that nobody recognizes that you actually have?
Well, I would say that to have a right that is inalienable is to have a right that
How could you possibly...
Once you grant a right, Matt, what's to stop you taking it away? How is a right any different than a privilege?
Well, you know what? That's a conversation we're having with respect to abortion rights right now.
The question is, what rights should we grant? Well, the question that I asked, though, was of what value is it to say that you have a right that nobody recognizes you actually have, a right that isn't being protected by anyone at all?
No, I agree, absolutely. So there is no doubt that rights fundamentally have to be protected.
Right.
And that we create a government to protect our rights. And those rights, regardless of where they come from,
they come from the government that's protecting
our own liberty, our own property, and the pursuit of what we want to do, our own happiness. And so we create a government to protect that right, to stop you coming and taking something from me.
Yes.
So when you want me to pay for your health care because or somebody else's health care...
I don't come to you, Robbie, and ask you to pay for my health care.
Matt,
there is a social contract that in order to be a participant of the society and gain the rights and benefits of that society, you have to contribute to it. And sometimes the contributions that you make go to benefit others, because we recognize that a high tide raises all boats.
So Matt, tell me how we then decide which contributions we make, which ones we're obligated to make, and which ones are just absolutely off the wall. Are you happy to provide...
to pay taxes? Yes. And then after we decide that we're going to pay taxes, we go through and sometimes our taxes go to things that they shouldn't go to. And that's where debate and elections...
How do we decide that much? So where do you draw the line? What are the things we should pay for and what things shouldn't we pay for? Is there a way to do that, or it's just majority vote?
Yeah, it's called government.
Well, truly, but government, Jen, is this agency that protects our rights. It's an agency. It's the agency of force. It's not a debating society.
No,
it's not.
We are the government, by the way.
Yeah.
True. But what I simply mean by that is, Matt, you and I can disagree like we do now.
Right. Robbie,
I can't take your property as a result of our disagreement, whereas the government can. If I disagree with the government...
Yes, the government can.
Can take it.
Oh my God, will you shut up?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're still making this analogy of me coming to take your stuff by force and then saying that the government shouldn't be able to do it either. That is a power that the government has to have in order for it to be able to guarantee or protect rights and anything along those lines. There is a fundamental difference there. So when you equate the two, you're already making a mistake. If, in fact, we're going to talk about how do we go about determining how best to spend our collective money, then there is the process of debate, the evaluation of evidence, the voting, the people who are appointed. And we don't always get it right, and we won't always get it right. But we have the opportunity to participate in the system and make changes.
And what I'm asking is there a principle that governs the right course of action, how to use, what I properly can take your money for? I'm not anti-government. I think we should have a government, and it should be to protect our rights, and it should be for the court system and police and all these sorts of things, but it should not be, I draw the line at healthcare. I say that when you have a government that pays for healthcare, you have imported this we are our brother's keeper.
Why don't you want to pay for healthcare?
Why don't I want to pay for healthcare?
Yeah.
Because I think a single-payer system or even any kind of socialistic government system necessarily destroys healthcare. So long-term, you look at healthcare in countries that have these type of systems, and at the end of the day, their leaders come to the United States where healthcare is the freest and therefore the best. And it's the same argument for education and for the UPS versus the post office. And at the end of the day, when these things are owned by people and not run by government agencies, they're much, much more efficient. So I'm not for charitable hospitals and anybody wanting to spend their money that way, but I'm suggesting that what happens is when you start from a moral position, I would argue this utilitarian position, that it's now, we're looking after the best interests of others. what you're really saying there is, what that ultimately redounds to is, how does that, when you decide to take care of others, how does that redound on your own well-being? And my point simply to
Robbie,
your own well-being should
Why
be the
are we
standard,
giving this
not
guy a
the
platform?
group.
I don't know, but Robbie, to me, you're an other. To you, I'm an other.
Exactly. And the way I
We are all others.
redounds to my own well-being.
Robbie.
I'm saying a moral code should be based on an individual and not a group's needs.
Okay, goodbye.
Yeah,
Thanks for calling.
that's
Appreciate it.
the
I
mean,
typical, I've got mine, fuck you.
Yeah, it is exactly this. You can't have a moral code based on the individual needs as long as you have to share space. There are going to be compromises.
Why can't we just deal with one another by trade, but not by force?
Because there are selfish assholes in the
Because
world.
there are selfish people in the world, because there needs to be some protection against...
Well, that's what you have a court. That's what you have police and courts for.
Yeah, the best you can buy, right?
But if I'm
That's
selfish,
your
Matt,
system,
why
right?
is that? If I want to keep all my money, why am I obligated to, in any way, other than, let's say, the protection of our rights? So I'm arguing the protection of rights we all agree with. But I'm arguing against, let's say, healthcare, just as an example. There's a myriad of them where you and I agree, hey, listen, this isn't how we want our money spent. And I'm just saying, well, there's an easy way. We don't have to start a new conversation every time.
Yes, there's an easy way, Robbie. It's called throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and it doesn't actually result in anything productive or good. That's what you're advocating, is that where we can't agree, then we should just throw the baby out with the bathwater. What about the people who don't agree that we should have roads or police? What do we do with them?
Well, again, the protection of our rights, I'm not for majority rule.
I'm not saying you are. You're saying...
I'm for a constant...
Robbie, you're saying that there are these things that you and I happen to agree on that our tax dollars should go to, and that we're in a disagreement about maybe health care. Now, what do you do with the people who don't agree with us about money going to roads?
You explain the moral principle that's at hand here.
There's no moral principle for roads.
Well, I agree that moral principle, I agree that infrastructure is necessary for access.
But not health infrastructure, just the freaking roads.
No, not healthcare. I believe you should be able to have to... So I need a road to drive on.
So we want a bunch of sick people driving those roads.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's...
So that they can wreck into your car, so that you're no longer able to make a living, and then we'll see if you still want to do the screw you, I got mine, you get yours.
That's why you have car insurance and you have health insurance. Well, at what point, Matt, does it become my responsibility to pay for your health insurance or anyone else's, or your education for that matter, or a whole host of things?
Do you realize, Robbie, what's the number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States?
I do not know.
You should look it up and then call back. Thanks for calling.
Actually, don't
And
call
don't talk
back.
about the after.
Don't call back.
Well, he can write back.
Yeah.
But anyway, whoop, there we go. I lost that one. And Matt in Austin, thanks for waiting.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, sorry for that. That took a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah, I didn't really get the atheist or religious issue that was being.
I didn't
Yeah.
either. There's a fundamental thing about morality that kind of got lost in there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so it seemed like earlier you guys were at one point you were saying that, you know, if you're silent about if you're Catholic and you're silent about the cover up or the people shielding these abusers, then you're complicit. But then a couple times y'all also said that if you continue to be, I'm sorry, who's the other host besides Matt? Is it
Jen?
Tracy?
This is Jen.
Jen, okay. I think right as y'all were finishing that up, Jen said, but if you continue to be in the church, then you're complicit. And I think that those seems to be kind of, those are definitely two different things.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Catholic Church and you're a member of a church and you're supporting the church and you're aware of what they're doing that is immoral and criminal, how are you not compliciting by continuing to contribute and support that organization?
Well, I would say that in the sense that I wouldn't think that every example where you're a member of an organization that's doing something that it's bad that by supporting the organization in general, that you're supporting that thing, especially if you're
Yes, you
criticizing.
are.
If you know about it,
I mean, if it doesn't...
So what is so?
If an organization has done something and is continuing to do something that is immoral and illegal, and you're aware of it, and you continue to support that organization, then you are supporting that organization. I mean, that if you support the organization, you're supporting it.
Okay, so if I'm in the Army and the Army is doing something that I don't believe, or if the leadership, one aspect of what they're doing is something that I don't agree with, then by being part of the organization in general, I'm complicit in that?
you might be, but there's a fundamental difference between being in the military and being a member of a church. If you don't want to
Okay.
be a member of a church anymore, you can walk out the door and stop supporting them. If you're in the military, you can't just walk off the job.
I'm Catholic.
When you join the military, you fundamentally give up rights and freedoms
Yeah.
as a consequence of doing that. You don't have the freedom to just say, nope, screw this, I'm done with this. Whereas you can do that with, like, church membership.
Now,
But it's illegal. It's illegal, but you could do it.
well, but the point is, one thing that you can do, if you're in the military and you are given what you consider to be an illegal order, you have an obligation to refuse that order and to accept whatever consequences come along with that. If you accept the illegal order and you carry out that illegal action, then yes, you're complicit in that.
And when your time is up, you don't have to re-enlist. You
That's
can
right.
then get out. But what we're talking
Okay,
about,
but-
what we're talking about with someone who continues to support the Catholic Church organization, if you're going to try to make a valid analogy to being in the military, that would be someone who continues to keep re-enlisting and supporting what they're opposed to.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think that Jen's saying if you get an order, I think that's different than somebody at a much higher level than you in the Army carrying out
Sure.
something that's doing something
Right.
that's wrong.
Sure.
But the other thing too is if some senior officer is doing something illegal and you know about it, and you do nothing about that, and you continue
No,
to
that I
follow
agree
this
with.
guy, then you're complicit in whatever that guy's doing.
And
Absolutely.
depending on what it is, you could find yourself responsible.
Exactly.
And
I
leading charge
agree.
as well.
And so this is what
I
we're talking
absolutely
about with the Catholic Church. You know, there's the church hierarchy has spent a lot of time and money moving priests around after they've committed crimes against children.
Right.
They've engaged in an organized conspiracy to make sure these guys never suffered any legal consequences for what they've done to children.
Right.
They've done this at the expense of those children many times,
Sure.
okay? And you're still in that organization. You still support
Yeah, I'm
that.
still in the organization, but I'm completely critical openly of all that kind of thing.
Okay?
So.
So
I also
what are
think
you
that
doing to be openly critical of the criminal actions of the church that you're supporting?
Oh, well, just making it difficult, for one thing, for any Catholics that I know who want to somehow smooth it over or kind of minimize it or, otherwise kind of pretend it's not happening, to make it very difficult for them. I mean, but I think that I think the media and the authorities are doing a pretty good job of taking care of it otherwise.
No, see, that's part of the
Yeah.
problem. So the Catholic Church has done a good job of skirting prosecution, and the authorities have been, for years, until it became a huge scandal, reluctant to go after the church at all.
Sure, but I mean
Okay.
now.
So now, you're a Catholic. Do you attend a church regularly?
Yeah.
Do you give money to it?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. Why?
Well, usually I give money to there's different collections. The one I usually give is to for the poor, and I give to the St. Vincent de Paul.
How do you know that's
store.
where the money's going?
Yeah.
I'm
how do
not
you-
absolutely certain that it is.
Yeah.
It could be going to drugs.
Yeah, it could be.
But I honestly don't think it is.
Well, here's the thing. Churches don't have to open up their financial records to the public. There's no auditing at all. So even charities, non-religious charities,
The ACA, for example,
Not only do they have to open up their books, but if you look at it, they'll tell you how much of each dollar goes to what it's supposed to be going to. And so there are some absolutely horrible charities out there where less than a penny or two of every dollar you give goes to the actual people who need it, and the rest is taken up in administrative costs.
yeah.
If that's the case for organizations that have to open their books, what's happening with the organizations that don't have to open their books?
Well, yeah, it's anybody's guess.
Now, it is anybody's guess, I suppose. We'd like to just generally think that this is a trustworthy organization that gets kind of the benefit of the doubt because religions have had this position. What if it turns out that the organization you're giving money to is known to have engaged in criminal actions and has been incredibly untrustworthy when it comes to their transgressions?
Well, that
How
would
much
not be
confidence
good.
do you have that the money you're giving is going where you think it goes now?
Oh, I still do. In other words, to let me be clear, I understand, obviously we all know what you're referring to, and I understand that those things exist, but I still make a judgment about whether, most of the support I do is for my local church. And also, I've been getting an echo the whole time I'm talking.
Your local church doesn't give money to the to the Vatican and the Roman Catholic Church?
Yeah, sure, they do.
Okay,
But
how much? How much? You don't know.
Okay.
Nobody knows.
Well, I don't have a problem with them giving money to the Vatican either.
Well, you don't have any problem. Okay, so you're fine with them. Let's say they give 50% of all the money that comes into the Vatican.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay,
for that,
we don't
but-
know how much it is. I was just picking a number. I was going to start with 90, but I went to 50.
Okay.
But in any case, some portion of your money is now going to the Vatican, and that money is being used to move raping priests around to new locations and to pay off settlements so that they don't have to go to jail.
Okay, well, that's messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What are you doing about that?
Right. Okay, what am I doing about it?
Yeah.
Well, I told you before, I've consistently contributed awareness to it, for one thing, which is something that, like, for instance, somebody like you wouldn't be able to do in the same way because they would just shrug off whatever you said because you're an atheist, et cetera, et cetera. I know that I've had an effect on people's perspectives on these things.
Yeah, but why isn't the correct action to stop giving money and stop supporting the church?
Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, I support the church. I love the church, and I acknowledge that they've, and this is, the scandal is just one of many things. And if you go back, the further you go back, the more, there's lots of other, obviously, sordid things.
Yeah, the further you go back, you find things like indulgences and blah, blah, blah. But,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, or just,
Genocide.
monitor and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But the question was, why continue to support the church?
Because
If you
as a
have no
whole, I
idea
support
how
the
much
church.
what's that?
Because as a whole, I support the church.
Okay.
What about it do you support?
Do you
Well,
do you support its position on contraception?
Not particularly.
Okay. Do you support its position denying contraception and increasing the spread of AIDS, let's say in Africa, due to its policies?
Well, I think that the church has to continue to decide what they think is right based on the criteria that they do.
But the question is, do you support the policy that the Catholic Church promotes in Africa, which is to tell people not to use condoms, a policy that directly contributes to the spread of AIDS? Do you support that?
Or I guess, do you agree with it? Is better than maybe support.
I don't know. I don't agree. I don't support all their policies.
Okay.
So you're not sure if you support the idea that the Catholic Church is contributing to the spread of
that
AIDS?
seems like a really bad health risk.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
No, okay.
So
I think
what policies of the church do you agree with then?
Well, I just agree with the work the church does in general.
Okay, that's not
Moving
okay,
priests around
That
so they
seems to
don't.
just be an avoidance.
No, Jen. I don't think that's what they do in general.
Okay, so
I don't-
that's what we're asking is,
Yeah.
what policies of the church do you agree with that are worth supporting?
Building churches, continuing to
Okay.
administer the sacraments.
Buildings
spreading
where
the
more
gospel.
children can be raped?
Okay, so we need more churches?
No, I don't think that that's the primary effect of the church, is to rape children.
Well, you would
so,
be hard
so
pressed to
what you agree with is building more churches, giving the sacrament.
Yes.
Why?
Spreading the gospel.
Well, why the sacrament?
Well, I mean, I just love the sacraments.
Okay. That's cool, I guess. You do realize that the church is, do you think that it actually turns into the body and blood of Jesus?
Well, you mean the essence?
The transubstantiation, literal transubstantiation.
Yes, the transubstantiation is that the essence turns into the, yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm just baffled.
I'm baffled too.
So you realize that, a DNA test demonstrates that doesn't actually happen.
Well, a DNA test would say exactly what the church says, that the physical, what they call the accidents stay exactly the same.
Yeah. So what is it that changes if the physical stays the same?
The essence.
What the hell is essence?
Yeah.
The essence is like it'd be like the equivalent of like you being dead and you're not conscious, you don't have a spirit anymore.
Crackers aren't conscious anyway.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that they are. I'm saying that would be an example of something losing its essence.
Okay, the essence of me and my consciousness is in fact physical.
Okay, well that's just your opinion.
No, it's not just an opinion. It's electrochemical reactions in my brain.
Well, but there is a debate about what the nature of consciousness is.
Sure. But
Okay.
there's no reasonable reason to suspect that there's something supernatural about it. As a matter of fact, the more we learn, not only...
But I didn't say supernatural.
Okay, what is the essence if it's not physical?
Okay, well, let me just say, one of the people who I read on consciousness is David Chalmers.
Now, hang on. I'm not talking about consciousness now. We're talking about the essence, and you're saying that it's not supernatural.
No, I'm saying that I didn't say it was not supernatural. I said I didn't say that it was supernatural.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Is it supernatural?
I don't know. I mean,
if it's not supernatural, wouldn't that mean it's natural?
Yes, but that wouldn't
If
necessarily
it
mean
was
it's
natural, wouldn't that mean it's physical?
No.
No. So there's a physical, or there's a natural, non-physical essence that's part of me. What is it, and how do you know that that's true?
Well, I'm not saying that I know that it's true.
Okay, why do you believe that it's true?
That it is. Okay, I think that it's true.
Why do you believe that it's true?
We're kind of getting a little bit off the topic here, but...
I'm just trying to figure, we're way off the topic. We're way off the topic. See, you're saying that you support the positions of the church, and then the positions of the church that you're willing to support are building new churches, giving the sacrament, and telling people about Jesus.
The maintaining and the growing and the ongoing church.
Right. Why is that a good thing?
Yeah. What value does this have?
For spreading the gospel.
Why is that a good thing?
Because I think that's the most important truth that people need to know.
How do you know? Why do you believe it's true?
Well, I mean, my reasons are a lot of them are personal.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if they would be compelling to you.
So if they're not likely to be compelling to people, I mean, what justification do you have for saying they're true?
Yeah.
Well, because I'm saying that I think that they're true just by virtue of being honest.
So you think they're true, and that it's a good thing to convince other people that they're true?
Well, I don't know about convince. I mean, you lead people to the gospel, and then you let them.
You try to convince them that they're true.
Okay, so you're okay with leading people, telling people about the gospel, and not convincing them that these things are true?
Well, I don't consider it my job to convince anybody that anything's true.
Okay.
I mean, I try to lead with my example.
So if somebody had a belief, and they said that this was just their personal belief, and that they didn't have any way or desire or responsibility to convince anyone else that they were correct.
Okay.
What would you say about that?
Well, I mean,
would you say that's an idea worth spreading?
it depends on what the idea is. I mean, like, let's say, like, you know, you could use something like being optimistic about romantic love, or even like patriotism or something.
There's a difference between being optimistic about something and just wanting to tell people that you believe the gospel is true and that they need to believe it too.
No, okay, I'm sorry. By being optimistic about it, I mean, let's say that, like I say, I believe in love, and like you know, I believe in romantic love, and somebody disagrees with me, and they say that it's actually it's not a good thing, and it actually creates confusion, and I say, well, I believe it, and it makes me happy, and it's one of the things that keeps me going. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be spending my time going around trying to convince people that it's true.
Okay.
Yeah, but you think it's worthwhile to support a church that does go out and try to convince people that the Gospels are true?
Yes, I think that
Why?
that is part of the church's responsibility, and
Well, I understand that, but-
I make some contribution to it. I'm not like
It was
You know, I'm not like
it was one of the things that you listed that you're supporting. So when it comes to love, you don't have any interest in demonstrating that or convincing other people that your view of love is correct. But when it comes to Jesus, you do have some interest in demonstrating or supporting
my
the
view of love.
organization.
I mean, I feel that way about love too.
What's that?
No, I feel the same way about love.
Okay, so what love organization are you supporting that is teaching people about love?
Well, I don't do it through that. I don't do it through an organization. I just do it another way.
Okay, so why can't you do the same thing with the Catholic Church? Why can't you tell people about Jesus without supporting a criminal organization?
I could tell people about Jesus without being a member of a criminal organization.
Cool.
But I want to be in the church because I love
So
it.
you want to be in a criminal organization?
No, I don't want to be in a criminal organization per se.
And yet you are.
I'm not happy about that aspect of it.
If you were in a love organization that you found out was doing the things that the Catholic Church is doing, would you stay in that organization too?
No, it's pretty hypothetical. Well, I mean, let me give you another example. Okay.
Because that's easier than answering the question.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to answer the question. If I was in a love organization, I think it would depend on what the nature of the organization was. If they did something criminal, what the criminal thing was.
They raped children.
And then they hid the lovers of the loved from prosecution.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would do it. I mean, it would depend on how much I felt like that was. If I felt like that they were doing that, and that was like what the evolving character of the organization is, then yeah, I would definitely, probably.
But as long as it's not like their primary thing, if it's just business they do on the side, that's okay?
Well, the thing is that I feel like it's my responsibility as a Catholic and as a Christian to try to affect the church. In other words, like I don't want to quit it. I mean, it needs to keep going, and so you have to.
I would say that you're definitely affecting the church. What you're doing is enabling this behavior. Because
I don't think so. I don't think that if you knew me, you would think that was my effect.
What consequences have you imposed on the church?
What would the church have to do to lose you as a supporter?
Yeah.
The church can no. It's not. It's my organization. I'm a Christian.
I understand.
The church has always been here.
So,
So there's a difference between being a Christian and being a member of a specific church organization. You realize that the Roman Catholic Church is different from other church organizations as well, right?
Right, but
and you also realize that you could take all of the Catholic doctrine that you accept,
right,
and create a whole new church organization, correct?
No, not all of it.
Wait. Why could you not take and start Catholic Church 2 with all of the Catholic doctrines and goals that you support and accept? Why can't you do that?
Well, because part of it is the authority of the church,
which is basically granted by its members.
If the
not
church,
really.
if the church, is,
Yeah, really.
if the church is well,
In your opinion.
his view is that God established the
I know.
Catholic Church,
But the reality is,
and let me tell you, that's a great con job, because what it does
Yeah.
is it keeps people like you supporting a criminal organization instead of forming a better organization. Would
Okay,
you
but
agree?
even-
Would you agree that if we went into the Roman Catholic Church and we opened up all of those files and prosecuted all those people and had an open policy such that all accusations of molestation were now properly investigated and turned over to the authorities, that the Catholic Church would be a better organization?
It seems like that would be good, yeah.
Yes. Now, if that's the case, and that would make the Catholic Church a better organization, why hasn't the Catholic Church done it? And if this is sanctioned by God as the one church authority, why hasn't God done it?
Why? If it's sanctioned by God, then why hasn't God done it?
Yes, if God actually thinks that the Roman Catholic Church is the one true church and is the one that is representative of his views, and they are currently engaged in criminal activities, and you have just agreed that there's a way to make the church better, why is it that the church isn't better if God is better than you?
Well, because I think that even though I think that God established the church, I don't think that it's infallible in every way.
So why wouldn't you just go make a church that was more in line with your understanding?
Well, because it wouldn't be the church. The whole point is the communion of the saints.
It would still be
everybody
okay.
is participating
If you can
in the
make a
church at once.
church, if you can make a church that is better than the Roman Catholic Church, that keeps all of the tenets that you consider sacred, that have always been considered sacred, and has this open door policy, this better Catholic Church that we're talking about, why can't you do that?
Because I don't think it would be.
You don't think you just said it would be better?
No, I didn't say it would. You said if they were to go in and clean out all of this stuff,
Yes.
would that be good? And I
So
said, yes,
so
I think it would be good.
here's the thing, Matt. Here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's a box on my table,
Okay.
and it has 12 diamonds and 2 piles of crap.
Okay.
You would agree that the box would be a much better place if we removed those 2 piles of crap, right?
Okay.
Now, here's a second box. What if
All
I
right.
took those 12 diamonds and put them in the second box? Wouldn't that be better?
Yes.
Okay. So there's the example. And what you're essentially saying is that God sanctioned this first box. And so even though we would be better off in the second box with 12 diamonds, and even though it would be better off for the first box to remove the 2 piles of crap, God's not going to do it, the church isn't going to do it, and you can't do it. You can't even build a church that would ultimately be more in line with what you view God to be. Do you not see the problem?
It wouldn't be the church.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the box. Let me tell you something. This box that's got shit in it
Uh-huh.
is nothing special.
I think it is. I
It is
disagree
the
with you.
contents of the ideas.
No, I disagree.
Okay.
So-
I think
Okay,
it's the
so-
line.
Matt, I
There's
gotta tell you.
there's something I've wanted to say this whole time.
Okay.
Okay, I want to make a quick analogy. And it's an analogy that I made before about being an American, because I'm critical of a lot of the things that my country does, and also of being in a family where, you have messed up things happen in your family. You may have, you just may have some bad elements in your family.
Yes. And what do you
But-
do about that?
Well, you try to do something to correct it, but
Right.
you don't leave the
And
family.
and if you couldn't,
I would not leave the family.
you wouldn't leave the family?
No,
Okay.
and the church is my family.
I'm sorry you don't have enough self-respect. I'm sorry that you don't have enough self-worth to realize that sometimes leaving a family is the best thing you can do if the environment is toxic and hostile. There are plenty of people, for example, who are gay, who are not accepted by their family, and the best thing for them is to abandon that family and create a new family. And as Jen has said,
That's your opinion.
yes,
Yes.
Okay, well, let
Matt,
me give you again. I have an aunt.
Hang on,
I have
Matt.
an aunt.
Hang on, Matt.
Okay.
Hang on,
Sorry.
because I think you
Sorry.
actually share this opinion. If
Okay.
there was someone who was gay, who was verbally and physically abused by their family such that they were constantly miserable and depressed, do you think it would be better for them to stay in that family or to leave?
If everybody in the family, okay, here, the thing about a family is, for instance, I have an aunt who's gay, and I've watched her go back and forth with different people in the family, especially her mother, and people who didn't accept her, and it's like, she went long periods where she wasn't at the house, but she didn't disown the family, and she's gone back, and it's been, she's affected because she didn't just leave and go off and create some completely separate thing.
I'm not suggesting that leaving is the only opportunity. There is also the opportunity to change the family, which was what I was saying when we should take the shit out of the box. We should change the church. Though I accepted that that's an option. But given that you won't let go of this box, and you won't let go of this notion that because you are blood related to somebody, you are therefore obligated to put up with their crap, and that you wouldn't be better off leaving in some situation. Are you saying there's no situation in which...
No, there are situations. Yeah,
Fine.
yeah. If it was extreme enough.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're almost out of time here, but I wanted to make one more point, Matt, before you go. And that you've said on here that you don't agree with what the church has done, and with regard to the pedophile scandal.
And other things.
And other things, okay, and yet you still support it. So, while I think that on the surface you may disagree with those things, I don't think it's as big a deal as you claim that it is for you, because otherwise you would leave.
Okay, but you haven't ever supported a person in a general way, like I support you, like I'm going to be there for you, I'm going to support you, even though I might not agree with everything that you do.
It's not about whether you agree with everything somebody does. This is about a criminal activity that harmed real people.
That I don't agree with, and that I believe that you be
and yet you
prosecuted for.
stay. And so your values are revealed by what you do, not what you say. So I think that
Exactly.
I think that the price that
And
you're
you're
willing to
acting like
pay,
that what I do, you're saying that
you stay and support the church. So in your mind, supporting the church is worth it. And, if the cost of that is if you raped kids, I think you're okay with that.
Okay, well, what would you call?
I'm sorry, Matt.
What would you call
I'm sorry,
somebody who
Matt.
prosecuted them who's a
Matt, I'm
Catholic?
sorry, but the credits are up and they're going to cut me off. So we'll have to continue this another time. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and there's the people who make the show happen. We'll see you all next week.